See you in hell, the voice rang out over the television. Clint Eastwood in a High Plains Drifter. It was one of her favorites. She had fallen asleep on the couch watching it, and it had subsequently woken her up. Her little studio apartment was what some might have called unique. The couch sat low on the floor as she had taken off the legs. Her bed did as well. There were lights pointed at every object in her place, from every angle. There was no single shadow to be cast, anywhere. That was, after all, where a lot of them came from, completely white and boring, but relatively safe and free of Darklings. There would be some off and on, but the most severe attack she had had in recent years was at the grocery store 7 years ago with Dane. She was 25 now, and lived alone. It was by choice. She could have had her share of the male population without coercion. She just preferred to be alone. She had been doing studies recently of the supernatural and spiritual, just to see if there was anything that could link her own situation to others. She had found several things that could have passed as related, but nothing more solid than a peculiar series of incidents that happened in this very state in the late 60s. That was as far as she had come so far. After a good night's rest, she would continue. Her apartment was littered with open, face-down books and papers strewn out like she worked for the Spokesman Review. She looked around at the chaos of it all and sighed, shaking her head. Later, she thought. She turned off the television almost reluctant and headed off to bed just a few yards away. She kept all the lights on. She did every night. It was hell on her power bill, but it made her feel safe, even if it was just a false sense of security. It was some sense of security, after all. She pulled down her white blankets and sheets and grabbed the book and settled in for the night. She knew she would fall asleep reading it like she always did, and again, that was a small sense of comfort for her. She had her attention focused on something else. Over the span of years, she had somewhat trained herself to focus her attention on other things than the ones that haunted her. Simple things like books, or cleaning, writing, or work. It was a small thing, but it kept her from losing her mind completely. And it wasn't long before she was asleep. With any luck, she wouldn't dream. She thumbed through the pages of her most recent venture into the paranormal at the local library. Clacking her pencil off the table while she read, she earned herself a shush from the single librarian working today. She looked up with a small smile and nodded. The stout little woman barely acknowledged her subtle apology before going on with what she was doing. She shrugged her shoulders and took her book over to the computer to do some deep research. Her Yahoo search under paranormal activity focused around Spokane, Washington, yielded many unexpected results. Her finds, however, were less than fortuitous, save for an article dated 1969 from the local newspaper. The headline read, "Redamona Pruitt, renowned parapsychologist found nearly dead." The article explained that she was found in her loft, apparently the victim of a vicious attack. The assailant was never apprehended, and the case was put into the cold files after a 3-year-old investigation. Redamona had apparently told police that she was attacked by a ghost or demon. Police, of course, did not believe her, as her eyes were gouged out with some household object like a spoon, and subsequently, she was blamed for her own misfortune, saying she had done it to herself. A gruesome tale. A bit more research told her that Redamona had been institutionalized several years after the attack. She had a psychotic break after the police deemed the search for her attacker cold, and blamed her for the entire incident. She was held at Shady Acres Asylum for 7 years before finally being released and sent back to her home. She immediately moved to the Upper West Side of Spokane and became a recluse. It is said that she never leaves her home, and well into her 70s now, she refuses to talk to anyone about the accident. Her line of work before it was what Frankie was most interested in. Parapsychology was a practice with the paranormal, namely, the dead, and Frankie needed to know if Redamona could help her to understand her visitors. Maybe even get rid of them.